Have you ever wondered how to play trills properly on piano? Maybe you struggle getting a proper sound while trying to play trills. Maybe you've never played trills at all. Well, today I'm going to show you how to play trills and some tips on how to get them to sound a bit better. So let's get on to topic number one. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is what is a trill. A trill is what's called an embellishment, where you alter between two notes. Well, let me elaborate quite a bit. So here is the example of a trill, and often when you see trill, you'll see TR in the squiggly little line. You won't always see the second note written there. See how there's two notes? There's a bigger whole note, and then there's a smaller note next to it. Well, that's actually the second note is the note you're starting from. So the strange thing about trills is you don't start on the note that's written. You start on the next scale note above that. Or if it has like a flat next to it, then or a sharp, you'll change it. But it's always the next scale note up, assumed. So you start from that note, and you alternate between that note and the first note. And you do that for as long as that note value is. So if it's a whole note, you're going to do it for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I played it really robotically so I could count it in time, but that's how it goes. Okay, you want to start out by playing 2 trill notes for every note going on in the other hand. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So we had the example before where you had that E there with the trill, right on it, where you had to alternate between F and E. So what I recommend you do just to start out, if you've never played trills before, is say we have this pattern with our left hand, the C, E, G, E. Pretty easy pattern, but we have to do this trill over it. So what I recommend you do is just start out by having 2 notes in your right hand for every left hand note. So if there are quarter notes, you want to be playing in eighth notes. One thing I want to mention is the fingering. You want to find a fingering that works best for you. I tend to fall back on 3 and 1, even though my piano teacher told me not to, or I mean 3 and 2. 3 and 1's actually not too bad. 5 and 3, I can't get quite as much speed out of that. So you want to find the 2 fingers that work the best for you to alternate. I find 3 and 2 work the best for me, even though my piano teacher told me that's no good. But 3 and 1 is also a good option. So you just want to start out with 2 notes there. All right, let's get on to the next tip I have on where you should go from here. Then, the next thing you want to do is you want to double that. So now you have 4 notes in your right hand for every left hand note. So now we're going to have to use 16th notes since we have quarter notes in our left hand, and we need 4 notes for each one. So again, find the fingering that works for you. You might want to repeat that over and over again, because when you do this, it might sound robotic, but you're getting closer to the speed you need to be going with your one hand to be able to play the trill and get it to sound right. Using the pedal at this stage probably isn't a bad idea, so you just want to have the pedal down while you're doing this. And it's starting to sound a little bit like a trill, right? It's certainly not perfect. So let's get on to the next step. Okay, then what you want to do is over time, this takes time, like everything, you want to start getting the motion automatic and more fluid, where it's not exactly a certain amount of notes in your right hand per left hand, but it's more of a fluid kind of ornamentation like it's supposed to be, and an embellishment. So, and it'll sound a lot more musical that way. So here we have our original example with the trill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out just doing it like we did before, where I have 4 notes, 4 16th notes for every, quarter note in my left hand. And then I'm just going to keep doing that, the trill that is, with my right hand. Put on the pedal. And, start to get like maybe a little bit of a rotation in the wrist. Certainly nothing crazy. But just get your wrist to start getting in the motion. And just get used to doing that motion. Like I said, it takes time. I still rely on 3 and 2. I even find 3 and 1 to get a little tiring over time. It gets harder and harder to keep consistent. But anyway, you want to start to get it automatic. And then, once you get the trill going, then come in with your left hand and play the pattern. Trying to get more sound out of the trill now. But yeah, that's how you're going to do it. As you can see, as I was doing that, it started to sound like a real trill. So again, start out by playing 2 notes for every note in the other hand that doesn't have the trill. You can obviously have trills in the left hand. And then you want to double that. And then you want to get it automatic, where you're able to get it actually trilling. And then while you're doing that, so you don't have to focus on that so much. So you're not like focusing on exactly how many of these you have. You just want to get it automatic. And it takes time. Just like that. So that's how you should practice it. Even if you see it in a piece of music, you should do it like that. No matter what the trill is, you can approach it the same way, even in a real piece that you're working on. All right, let's get on to the next part of the lesson. So our wonderful live stream attendee Fireflower asks, is the trill always a whole step up from the main note, or is there a case where that it's a note lower than the main note? So there's not a case where it's lower than the main note, but you can certainly change whether it's a whole tone or a semitone or a whole tone or a half step or whole step, as you may know it, depending on, whether that, see how there's that little note in this trill? It's not always written there. If it's not written there, then it implies just the next scale note. But if it's written there and it's altered in any way, like if there's a sharp written there or a flat, that will change which note you will trill from. So if it's, between F and G, and it's an F sharp, then you'll be trilling between those 2 notes starting on the F sharp. Okay, Rich asks, what is the difference between trills and tremolos? A great question. Well, they're very similar, aren't they? With this tremolo, you definitely are alternating between 2 notes. Tremolos are generally used for notes that are further apart and clusters of notes. So you can have a chord that's tremoloed. You can have, an octave. That's very common as well. And a tremolo can also tell you how fast to alternate between the notes, depending on how many bars are in the tremolo. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, here we have our tremolo between 2 notes that are an octave apart, G and G. And this time you're actually starting from the note that's written. Makes sense now. All right, so you still want to have the pedal down. If you only have 1 bar, very slow tremolo. I think it's quarter notes. If you have 2 bars, like so, whoops, that's 3, that's not the right number, 2, like that, 8th notes, and then 16ths. That would be a lot more like a real trill. And from what I understand, tremolos are more of a free-form kind of thing as well, where they're not, quite exact. Just like that. If you're interested in learning more about what we talked about today, you need to check out this playlist because it'll really help you, continue on and keep learning. You also want to subscribe because we have new videos coming out at least twice a week, so you don't want to miss out on those juicy, nice videos. So make sure you subscribe. So thanks everybody for coming out. This has been Tim from Lessons on the Web, and I'll talk to you real soon. Thank you so much.